Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats. And we've been doing live videos to help parents learn what they need to know to keep their kids learning and safe during the COVID pandemic, how to pick among all the great school options there are in San Antonio. And I'm so grateful today we have Marcy Andrade, who is the district director of communications and outreach for the Harmony San Antonio cluster. Right. So one of the cool things about Harmony is that they have charter schools all across the US, but in Texas they have, what is it, over 50 schools, I think?
58 campuses.
50, okay. and
Yeah.
so not just San Antonio, but also in Laredo and Brownsville, and that's the region that we're in, right? Is San Antonio, right, Laredo, and Brownsville, and they're all excellent schools. So okay, so a little bit about Marcy's background. She has a background in, she has a journalism degree from Texas Tech. She has a master's in nonprofit leadership from City University of New York. And she told me about some things she volunteers at, like the San Antonio Feral Cat Coalition, which is close to my heart. I've done my share of feeding the cats. so Marcy, thank you.
And too. But anyway,
yeah,
that's another
exactly.
topic.
Right. That's another topic. Yes, but I'm so excited to like see Marcy's face on the screen, because in the past we've gone to like school fairs together, right? And Marcy's helped me tour. Last year it was the Harmony Science Academy that I got to tour, and I was just so amazed by the projects that the students were doing. Right, I got to talk to these like senior student ambassadors about like the career tracks that they were on, and I miss being able to do school tours. So it's nice to see your face, Marcy. I wish we could do another campus tour, but someday soon, I hope.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah. So well, I wanted to ask, and to mention anybody who's watching the video, if you check the description of the video, there's a link to the enrollment guide blog post that we've just updated, and that's on the San Antonio Charter Moms website, and it's got up-to-date information about the Harmony campuses in San Antonio. It's got information about how to apply. As you're watching or listening, and to appreciate like what makes Harmony Public Schools special. So, and I think one of the things Harmony is known for is STEM education. So I was wondering if you could talk about the value of STEM education, why it's at the heart of the Harmony Public Schools curriculum, and like how it sets students up for success if they have that STEM foundation in their K through 12 education.
Definitely. Harmony is special in that we're kind of leaders in STEM. We kind of started this whole STEM movement back 20-something years ago. And, just visiting classrooms, STEM is fun. It's vibrant. Our classrooms are so vibrant. And what I've noticed and what I've observed is STEM is hands-on. It's thought-provoking. It makes students think about what they're doing. It's collaborative. I mean, that's the world we live in today, is we need to collaborate, communicate. So it kind of hits all the marks. You collaborate, you think, you work on something. If it doesn't work, you try it again, you work together. And so it really builds curiosity, and it just really builds that strong foundation for students who ultimately, I mean, our students end up being 100% college accepted. So when they go to college, they're successful. We hear back from them, they're successful. And we understand not all our kids become engineers or doctors or get into the biomedical field, but it does build that foundation for success. And so, STEM can't hurt, right? It can't hurt to have that strong foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned that a lot of what they work on to learn STEM is they're actually doing projects, right? And we've heard about project-based learning, that the way other schools do it. But, what I noticed from visiting Harmony, like that they would have these giant, like full-size solar cars and stuff like that. And, these are ambitious projects that they're working on. So I was wondering if you could talk about like kind of how it works, like, when they tackle a STEM project. And students, they're going to hit obstacles, right? They have to be able to work as a team. Kind of how does it work that they're learning STEM through projects?
Well, it's definitely actually project-based learning is kind of embedded in all their classroom projects. They're expected to do that, and then when they get into the higher grades, they can kind of pick a field of pathway area. And so once they're in those pathway areas, then they're expected to work on a final kind of a capstone project, if you will. But aside from that, what you're talking about is the solar car project. And so kids get together and they dream up these projects, put it on paper, and they really work hard to put together a solar car. And it's just amazing what these scholars come up with. And actually, I wanted to mention that in one of our Laredo campuses, the students came up with a like for a child, a solar car that was for a child with a disability. And so they created this out of their own curiosity and willingness. And then they wanted to donate it to a kid who had a need, and they couldn't really find someone. So they went on to one of the news stations and were seeking a child to donate this car to, a special needs child that could utilize this vehicle to get around. And so this is what our kids end up doing. They find something, they latch onto it, and they end up building a car for a child in need. So yeah, they do some really cool things. It may not always look perfect the first go round, but you know, they're really proud of it and they get it right. A few times later, they get it right.
You know, that's an important thing as an adult, like when I see my daughter cooking in the kitchen, like I can't go in and tell her like, oh, your cucumber slices aren't perfect, or, you know, it's like, no, it's like, mom, back off, just step back. It's like, yes, it's a big knife, but she's doing fine, right? And I think that's part of, like, as adults, we need to learn to, like, you know, let the kids like fail but try again, because then they build that confidence in themselves. And that's the kind of learning that I saw happening at like, I remember I saw they were let's see, on the tour. I know this is like, it's been a few months, but they were it was a coding class, and they were working on kind of a chatbot, right, where like it has AI that so you're like, it's almost like you're talking to a human, but you're not. Like the machine kind of picks up on keywords and what you're writing and tries to send responses back. And
Right.
they it was giving funny, like wrong, like obviously robot answers, but they were trying to like fine tune it so that you could trick someone into thinking they were chatting with a human. And I liked how like the kids had such a positive attitude about, like, they weren't discouraged at all. Like they were just laughing, they were trying again, like they were, you know, teasing each other about it, and like, so they were collaborating, and they were just totally not discouraged and not intimidated by this at all. Like and I thought, well, that's real learning. Like they're experimenting and they're going to remember the experience of that, and if they ever get stuck
Right.
again on a coding problem, they'd be like, well, remember that time with the chat bot? Yeah, we got through it. We laughed, we fixed
Right.
it.
Right. I mean, I remember thinking if you didn't do it right the first time, you just move on to something else. And that's not what kids do at our campuses. They keep going and just keep trying something until it works. I admire that.
Yeah, me too. I think another thing I learned when on the tour was that the students do a significant amount of community service that they, and I know COVID may be disrupting that. Like there may not be as much like face-to-face things that they can do, but I feel like it's part of the culture of Harmony, like to do community service, and then also doing things like science fairs, like where they're kind of testing themselves against, you know, what students at other schools are doing.
Definitely.
So I was wondering, like, I mean, definitely like Harmony schools they're not like islands unto themselves. Like they're definitely like part of the community through the community service and through the science fairs. If you could tell us more about that.
Sure. You know, our students, by the time they graduate high school, they have to complete 100 hours of community service. And 100 hours is like, oh, it's a piece of cake for some of these students. They end up with, you know, 150, 200 hours, and they're constantly looking for things to do. But they do that. And, you know, one thing they did that was just so impressive is they saw a need when COVID hit, and after, you know, during that long spring break, even though they were learning, they got to work and created some face shields.
Oh,
They
wow.
created some face shields and donated them to first responders and people in need, because if you'll recall, there was a real need for face shields. And so a lot of our campuses, the students got busy, were responsible about it. And of course, you know, they called teachers and did via Zoom and just really got busy creating face shields. I mean, they do everything from face shields to, some of them were doing hand sanitizers, which is pretty easy, but doing these face shields was kind of complicated, but they were able to do that. They do community service during the holidays. They do stuff with the food bank. That's real important to them. During school choice week, they get those yellow scarves and, they love them. But afterwards, it's like, what are we going to do with these scarves? And, they were after my heart because they said, we can donate these to a pet shelter and they can sew them into little blankets for the dogs or for the cats to curl up in because they're kind of that fleece material. And so, they're with needle and thread doing this and donating them. So they're just real creative about what they do. Some are small gestures, but some of them are big that really make a big impact. So
yeah, that's really cool with the so for the face shields, they were using the 3D printers to make
3D
like the plastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just, did an amazing job. And, just media came out for some of those donations and went to the fire stations and donated them and to some healthcare facilities and just really, just did a good job with that. So it was nice for them. I know they felt really empowered during that time where people felt kind of helpless and just felt good to give back.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And I
Yeah.
think it wasn't in San Antonio, but maybe in the Houston area, the students learned how to use the 3D printers to make prosthetics. Am I remembering that correctly?
That
Like
wouldn't
prosthetic
surprise
hands.
me. I think I remember,
Yeah.
they do that. It's just,
Yeah.
I know, these kids.
Right. I know. It's like, wait, these are like high school kids doing this stuff, right? Or middle schoolers. Yeah. No, that's I think like anybody who visits a Harmony campus is going to come away with, the realization that like kids can do a lot more than we sometimes expect of them if we just,
Definitely.
like give them the tools and the confidence to to dive in and keep iterating the process.
Right. I agree 100%. And they
Yeah.
just see things a little bit, it's that creativity that exists. They just see things differently. And it's really kind of cool to hear about when you're walking by, by the students and the things they think of and things they say and their creativity. It's just really enlightening.
Yeah. Well, and I think like, tying back to the community service aspect, one thing about kids is that they're I mean, sometimes I get a little like grumpy or burned out or something, and then I need to tap into that energy again. And I think young kids have like they have a curiosity and an optimism about wanting to problem solve, and I'm sure that came through like when they were making the face shields. It's like, okay, what can we do? Okay, let's do. We can't do nothing. We can, these are the tools we have, and we can make a difference. And they don't get discouraged. Yeah.
And, one of the, just looking at community service, it's not necessarily community service, but it's not even necessarily a partnership, but they've done some work for the past 4 or 5 years with San Antonio Water Systems and their Confluence. It's kind of a collaboration with all these schools and they work on projects and they've done that. And so they participate in that. They've worked with the San Antonio Zoo and did a watering system to help with some plants there that they developed. I mean, we just have our teachers are great. So they really work with these kids and gosh, they put in a lot of hours to make sure it all happens. But, the kids get it done and they're more than willing. So, there's just a lot of hours that go into doing these projects and the kids don't seem to mind at all.
And that's part of, I think that this is a testimony to the power of STEM, that like, the STEM skills that's where you find the solutions to so many different problems, right? Like whether it's like, water, taking care of animals, that it's making stuff and problem solving. That's that's why they are able to find so many places to be relevant in the community, because that's what the STEM skills are giving them the power to do.
And they don't even realize that it's just the way they are. They just, we're lucky we've had them for so long. I was mentioning earlier that if kids come here, they fit in and they love it and they stick around. So, if you have them at a young age in kindergarten or pre-K, it kind of becomes embedded in them, I guess.
Yeah, right. And like even at a young age, they're doing things like coding, right? And starting to learn programming
Very young
languages.
age, coding and robotics and Lego League and underwater. I'm like, how does this underwater thing work? You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really cool. It's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Right. And it does come to. I remember visiting a lab where they had, so it was the same lab where they were like assembling their own PCs, like gaming computers, and they had like a bunch of the Lego parts. The kids were working on the chatbot, and and like what brought it all together was the teachers, right? These coaches, who are fearless about like, oh, we need this kind of club. Okay, sure, let's get some kits. Let's order this.
Exactly.
Oh, we're gonna enter this fair. We're gonna enter this competition. Sure, let's go for it. Like they have this
Right.
can-do attitude. Yeah.
They really do. They're all in. They're all in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask about, I mean, when I visited, that was before the pandemic. But and I know that like, Harmony had to go to all distance learning for a while in the spring. And then, when school started this year, again, it was all distance learning. But y'all have been bringing kids back on campus, right? But like, so right now it's kind of a mix, right? Some kids are
It is.
still doing distance learning. So what have been some of the kind of the lessons learned? Or I mean, I'm guessing that you guys were already high tech, so that could give you, a good starting place for transitioning to having distance learning.
Well, through a grant that we've received, all our kids, all our scholars had laptops. So it was really seamless. Once the pandemic hit and, we had that spring break and then it, we weren't going to be going back, we were pretty much ready. I mean, it was just kind of ironing out some wrinkles here and there, but things seemed to work out okay. I wasn't on that end. I was kind of getting messages out, but I was just amazed at how well and how seamless that process went. I mean, they had some great software and just did some add-ons, and through Zoom, just really it worked. Our teachers are real technologically savvy, and I'm sure there were some growing pains in there, but they made it work. And right now we have about 85% engagement virtually, and we have about 15% of our students are on campus and responsible. We want to be very responsible and respectful of that. And while we were out, students were wondering when they're going to come back. Teachers were anxious. And so our our assistant superintendent of education hosted weekly town hall meetings where teachers could get together and discuss issues and problem solve and come up with solutions and best practices. And so, those are still going on today, only it's not weekly, it's monthly. It's the first Friday of every month. They get together and discuss any issues there was still those very strong lines of communication. And I'll tell you what, one thing that I've heard a lot of positive things about is that it really has become a partnership amongst parents. And parents have really stepped up, not that they didn't step up before, but you really see it when there's that home aspect of learning. So it's become a true collaboration and partnership.
Yeah, yeah, that's been so. Yeah, my kids are still doing distance learning, and there is an aspect of making sure that they're on track, they're logging in at the right time, the Wi-Fi is working, But another part of it too is like as parents, like we get a little more insight into what they're learning and what they're doing, and I'm
Right.
sure that the Harmony parents also have appreciated getting, maybe a little closer insight into what kind of assignments, what kind of projects the students are getting from their teachers, and yeah, like you said, it becomes a more complete partnership.
It is. You got to look at the positive, and I think it worked out in that parents now see what all goes into it, and they're just really collaborating. And before we've had home visits where our teachers and staff go out and meet with parents and tell them how school's going, but now they're seeing it, and those home visits are still happening virtually. So there's still that connection.
Yeah, yeah. No, but it makes a lot of sense what you said. Like, Harmony already had one-to-one technology, so so students had equipment to they had devices so they could be working from home, and the teachers already had training on using all different kinds of instructional technology.
Yes.
So aside from the fact that they weren't in the classroom live with the students, they had used Zoom to communicate with the students, but other than that, they already had a lot of the tools that they needed. And then the students
Absolutely.
didn't lose learning time, right? And they didn't lose the richness of the curriculum that Harmony uses.
Not at all. There was, and Harmony invested about 30 out locally, about 30 hours of best practices and training just to make sure that everybody was on the same page with technology. So it's just really worked out well. And, some students didn't have good internet connection. So we put hotspots for students that needed it, those sorts of things. And well worth the investment. I mean, we want our kids to have the tools they need, correct, to be effective.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I mean, your role at Harmony is the communications aspect, which is
Yeah.
how I've gotten to know you. And that you talked about having town halls on a regular basis. I think that's so important. It's like even if you're doing the right thing on campus or you're doing the right thing with the processes, but parents and stakeholders need to know what's being done, and they need to have clarity and not have the fear about not knowing what's coming.
True. That's so
Yeah.
true. And, even though I wasn't running any part of the town hall, I felt like, well, maybe I'll take minutes and I can learn that way, so I got to be part of something somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, no, I know. I mean, one of the ways that you and I have interfaced is that there's an advisory board that kind of helps keep Harmony connected with, like, STEM and education in San Antonio, right? So like the folks who manage the science fair, people from like SWIRI or Texas Biomed, or so I was wondering if you could just comment kind of on your role as as somebody who helps Harmony stay connected with the community. So what do you like most about your role, and what are you sort of most proud of what Harmony does in our region?
Well, I really have enjoyed, I mean, being part of that advisory board and meeting those community members. And geez, we haven't met. And we will when this thing all blows over, we will meet. And I'm not sure why we haven't done it via Zoom, but that's a good topic for discussion. But, I love getting to know what each campus is doing. As you mentioned earlier, the San Antonio Harmony District is San Antonio, which is 3 campuses, Laredo, 3 campuses, and then Brownsville has 2 campuses. And I'm fortunate that I have, there's 2 PR coordinators, one in Laredo and one in Brownsville, who are very capable, that I work very closely with. So they know their media, they know their campuses. So we work together, we meet weekly and discuss what's going on. And they're very capable and communicate messaging, right? So I just enjoy getting to know and learn what students are doing. And if there's a great story idea, I want to be the one to share it. So, and I get to meet cool people like you, Inga.
Aw. Well, I enjoyed the advisory board meetings because it gave me insight into what's happening in different communities, and that meeting the other people on the advisory board, because like there's some really cool science stuff happening in San Antonio. And I think sometimes we think of ourselves as like, oh, it's a tourist town, it's a military town, which, I mean, there's great military technology as well, which I know, my husband works in cybersecurity, right? So he interfaces with with that side as well. But but there's so much medical research going on, and just like there's technology startups, there's just like really cool ideas. And I think that's why it's so important to have schools like Harmony that offer STEM education, because it's preparing the workforce to feed into those industries, so that San Antonio can keep growing and having really good quality professional jobs, that just make our city a more fun place to live.
Right. No, exactly. And those advisory board members are always willing to lend advice and mentor and come and judge when we have projects that students are working on. So it's always a great collaboration and partnership with our advisory board because they provide advice and support, and it's nice to have those folks on board. And I miss them. I need to, I've talked to them here and there, but I want to see them again. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm there. You set up a Zoom meeting. I'll dial in.
all right.
Yeah, but no, and I remember too. Like one thing I took away from like Harmony has a data driven culture, and that like you guys watch every campus and make sure that the seniors are applying to colleges. They're applying to lots of different colleges. They're getting responses from colleges. Like you track like the college acceptance and make sure
Definitely.
that they're all preparing for that next step. And I think especially we were talking about this before the call, that like you can still get stuff done during COVID. You just have to be really deliberate about it. You have to be really purposeful about making a plan, make sure that stuff gets mailed, make sure that you make those phone calls or set up those meetings. That it's just everything's just a little bit harder. And
It is. It is, yeah. You're exactly right. And some people love working from home. I prefer being in an office where I can, even if they're just next door, I know if we're socially distanced and I'm wearing my mask and we're good, I could see them. That's just my thing. But yeah, and we have great people we work with. So why not? I want to see them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that the Harmony seniors are already sending in lots of college applications, and some of them are probably already hearing back, right?
Yes, we have. I don't have a number.
Yeah.
But yes, we do get reports here and there that things are moving along. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
are 100% college acceptance by the end, whether they go into the military or, that varies, but they definitely apply to multiple colleges.
Yeah. But they have the preparation for it, and they have that opportunity, and that's really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to make sure that we let families know who've been listening to this and hopefully getting excited about, hey, maybe my kid could build a solar car, right? Maybe my kid can make robots or learn coding, right? So if, for the families who are wanting to learn more about Harmony Public Schools, so I have my little banners here ready, right? So here's the link that, go to the website, harmonytx.org/apply. And then I want to make sure that folks know, and there's more information about this in the blog post, but like, if a family is curious, maybe they're not ready to apply yet, they just want more information first, what are some good strategies they can use? Besides, of course, read the blog post, right?
Right. Read the blog post and contact your campus of choice. They can also, contact them. We are having some open house events virtually. And I don't have exact dates on that, but I'm happy if you want to share my phone number, I can help them get that situated. But we're here to answer any questions and assist them with anything they may need in terms of making that decision.
Yeah, definitely. No, reaching out to the campuses is, I mean, that's like each Harmony campus is a little different, right? They have a little different grade levels, or, different part of town, right? So, right, two of them have high school grades, but one of them is more for the younger grades, right?
Correct. Our Glenmont Drive campus, which is on the northeast side of town, is the pre-K through 8 campus. And then over by 151 Marbach area, we have our pre-K through 5. That's our Excellence campus. And then our middle school through high school is Harmony Science Academy.
Right.
And they're real close by each other. So that elementary feeds into our middle and high school. And that's the one you visited.
Yeah. That was super fun. I love talking to the ambassadors about their career tracks, right? Whether it's like law enforcement or medicine or the robotics,
engineering.
Stuff. Yeah. And I'm going to be sure to mention that open enrollment is happening right now. So today it's November 10th. Open enrollment actually started on November 1st, but it runs through February 10th. So as long as families get their applications in during that period, it all goes into the mix for the lottery in February, right?
Right. The lottery is February 17th. Now, if we have a space open, they can get that seat. If there's no space open, then it's the lottery system. So
yeah.
We're good.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna pop the website up one more time, the harmonytx.org slash apply. So that's
Yes.
the overall. But each campus has their own website, and they've got information about like what extracurriculars there are at that campus, and
And there's so many
course
clubs
catalog.
and extracurriculars. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it's kind of a myth, or like, I mean, I feel like, well, we spent most of our time talking about STEM education, which is super important, but
It is.
um, but these are like full, like vibrant schools with, like
It's
there's
true.
student life and families, like there's like active PTAs and yeah, all the good stuff that you need at a public school.
There's
Yeah.
sports and clubs and art and yeah, so it's got something for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, Marcy, it's been such a joy to talk to you. I missed those advisory meetings. I missed the school fairs and things like that. Are there any like sort of closing thoughts you want to share with families? Any like sort of words of advice about you know keeping your kids engaged during COVID, or benefits of STEM education, things like that?
Wow. Well,
Oh, I'm putting you on the spot.
you sure are. No, just, STEM is, as they know, STEM is science, technology, engineering, math, and it sounds really boring, but you don't realize how much is involved in STEM. So if your child hasn't been exposed to it, give them that opportunity. Check out a campus, check out one of our campuses and see if it's a good fit. If it is, we want you to be there. So
Yeah.
give us a call, sign up, come visit. Eventually, hopefully, we'll be having live tours, but you can always do a virtual open house.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I'm happy to make sure more families know about Harmony, and that if STEM education and doing these really cool projects is the right fit for their kids, then they
That's
get where
right.
they need to be. Yeah, and get 100% college acceptance. Like, what's to
That's
argue
right.
about that? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Marcy. It's been great talking to you.
Great talking to you, Inga. Take care, okay?
Take care. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.